Well, hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, one and only AR Legends, and yeah, guys, today I am back with the next part of what if Naruto was neglected by his family and had the powers of Frieza. So, yeah, guys, hopefully, you guys enjoyed the previous part of this series, and if you guys have not seen it, please, guys, check it out. You guys will definitely like it. And yeah, guys, as for the next part, the like goal is gonna be let's see about it. 200 likes and 80 comments. Do that and I shall upload the next part as soon as possible. And yeah, guys, in my previous videos, as many people asked me to upload video again of the next part, but the comment goal is yet to be completed. So please complete it as soon as possible because it is more like a motivation to me to make more videos and improve it. So yeah, guys, please complete the like goal and the comment goal so that you guys can get more videos. So without any further ado, let us start the video. But before that, I would like to make a request to all of you guys who are watching this video. If you guys are new to the channel or if you guys have not subscribed yet, please guys do so. It would be really helpful to me as I want to reach 20k subscribers and you guys subscribing would be really appreciated. And yeah, guys, I have also put the link of my Instagram within the description below. So please follow me on Instagram as well as the link of my other Naruto channels as well. So yeah, guys, without waiting any more time, let us start the video. Last time we left off as we saw that how Naruto has, you can say, finally completed the training of some of his shinobis. After all, Naruto's agenda did not lie with the elemental nations. No, he was thinking far above it, far beyond it, and that was the universe itself. He wanted to conquer it, he wanted to rule it as an emperor, and for that he needed strong people. And as powerful as these shinobis were, they were nowhere near as powerful as the other races in the universe. So Naruto wanted them as powerful as possible, and therefore he had granted a fraction of his power to each and every shinobi, thus raising the rank to that of an S rank that easily, as Naruto was able to, you can say, destroy, fire daimyo and take over the position, as the nobles told Naruto that how people will always resist him. So therefore Naruto decided to use Shisui Eye, which started to get more and more useful for Naruto's own uses, as he took control of all the nobles. And they decided to, you can say, nominate Naruto as a new fire daimyo. And afterward, Naruto led his shinobis to the Sand Country, and therefore, you can say, also taking control of the Wind Daimyo and also destroying Suna and thus taking control of the shinobis there. After all, there was no, you can say, there were never enough shinobis to begin with, as Naruto smirked at that. So yeah, guys, that was the last part of the series. So if you guys have not seen it, please check it out. So yeah, guys, that was the last part of the series. So let us begin this story from here, as Naruto was looking down towards the Suna shinobis, as all of them has gathered, as Naruto has already taken control of all of them, as he was flying in the air with a smirk on his face as he snapped his finger as 10 ambos landed beside him. My lord, as all of them said at the same time, as Naruto said, well, I'll be leaving you guys here. Take care of the situation and start their training. I have already made the special room here for them to train in, where a fraction of my power remains. A clone of sword, as you can say. The Ambu simply nodded at it as Naruto smirked. Well, this village has been going on its own, so it would be a pose for him to take over the elemental nations, and therefore would be a lot helpful than simply destroying them all. So yeah, it was a lot better than that, as he smirked. His plans were going smoothly, and now it was time for him to take over the small nations that were in between his and the other major nations. After all, from the last report he has gotten, the mist country is still in the midst of a civil war, and he can take advantage of it, as Naruto smirked at that and gave the signal to his shinobi to leave here. After all, the ambos he has left behind were all S rank, which they were able to reach thanks to the help of Naruto's power, as they decided to leave, while on the other hand, news spread like wildfire across the elemental nations, as they saw that from the news they have heard Suna has surrendered to Konoha and therefore is now a part of the territory of the new Fire Daimyo and the Hokage of Konoha. No one exactly knew who the guy was. All the spies that were present in Konoha were not responding to the messages or the orders to return. There was no response whatsoever to begin with. While on the other hand, Jiraiya has just arrived into the fire, or rather the Suna, as he saw that how Suna was doing his, you can say, normal activities, but he was able to notice some of the, you can say, ambu that were present there. These were Konoha ambus, but there was something wrong. Jiraiya could sense it, their chakra level. It was beyond the roof, as if each and every one of them possessed cage level chakra, but it was not possible for someone to reach that level of powerful, you can say, chakra. As good as Konoha shinobis were, there were not, you can say, too many shinobis who has that powerful chakra. But he simply shook his head. He has to get information. If the ambus are here, then there's a possibility that these ambu would report to the new Hokage and how he would be discovered. So he simply shook his head. He has to get information. So he decided to go through Suna and try to, you can say, get in contact with his old contacts, but he was unable to find them and they were not responding to the normal signals. And now Jiraiya was getting frustrated. But from the information he has gotten, it seemed that Suna has surrendered willingly, and now there was soon to be the new cage, but how they have given up the position of the cage and how it would be just a normal leader of this outpost, and now it belonged to Konoha. And now Jiraiya was a bit conflicted after all. Conquering a major, you can say, village like Suna, it was a lot tough. After all, there would always be people resentful and the rebellions would begin. But they were all so subdued, rather, they were happy to serve the new Hokage. Something was off. Jiraiya could tell, but he did not know what to do about the situation, and even normal Suna shinobis were now, you can say, keeping an eye out for him. He is getting in a bit of trouble. He has to reverse summon himself. So he gave the signal, and just like that, he was reverse summoned back to the location of Minato, who was still training Menma and Naruto offhandedly. As he spoke up, well, Menma, you have gotten the initial stages of flying Raijin quite well, but you have to improve even further if you want to master the technique to my own level. As Menma simply nodded at that, yes, father, I will train as hard as possible and soon enough master the flying Raijin, and then we can return back to Konoha, and so that you can become the Hokage again. As Minato gave a small smile to his son. After all, he could tell that how Minato was missing being the Hokage, and as the considerate son he was, as he gave a smile and patted Menma on his shoulder. Do not worry, son. Soon enough, we will return back to Konoha, and I will take the position of the Hokage. And who knows, one day you could even be the Hokage. As Menma and both Minato started to laugh at it, and suddenly there was a puff of smoke. Minato was a bit, you can say, put off with the bonding, you can say, disturbance in the bonding experience he had with his son. But he quickly realized that it was Jiraiya and he wanted to get the information. So he gave a signal to Menma to go for now and train on his own. As Menma nodded as he went off to train with his sister, as Minato walked towards the location as Jiraiya arrived. As Jiraiya has a, you can say, confused look on his face as he looked towards Minato, as Minato said, well, Sensei, did you get the information? Were you able to stop this new Hokage? Tell me, who is it? At this, you can say Jiraiya shook his head. I do not know, Minato. I have not gotten any information whatsoever. But from the things I was able to observe, it seemed that Konoha has conquered the Wind Country, as well as Suna has surrendered, and therefore they will not appoint new case cage. Rather, the Hokage will be the leader of this village. They will appoint a general that would be under the command of Hokage. But other than that, I have not gotten much information as Minato had a frown on his face. Conquering a hidden village, it was rather impossible because there would always be resentment and therefore conflicts would always be there. So that was the reason the other nations rather go towards the destruction of the whole place rather than occupying it. So it was really intriguing how did this new guy was able to do it, as Minato was feeling a bit jealous because now he could see that how this new Hokage had done something that was considered to be impossible and how he hated it, but he simply shook his head. So what are we gonna do about it, Sensei? You are unable to get the name. Why is that? As Jiraiya shook his head, I do not know, Minato. They were ambushed from Konoha. As Minato's eyes widened. Well, if they were ambushed, why did you not ask them or approach them? As Jiraiya shook his head, Minato, do not understand these ambus and their chakra. It was a feeling as if each and every one of these Ambu had cage level chakra reserves. As Minato frowned at that, there were some candidates when he was present as the Hokage who could reach that level of chakra, but that would still take years. How can it be possible that there were 2 squads of Ambu who had chakra levels up to cage level? It was simply not possible, and I had a feeling, Minato, that they would not say anything, rather try to, you can say, subdue me as good as I am. For me to take on, you can say, 10 shinobi who has cage level chakra reserves, that would not go well for me, and I did not want to sabotage my relation with Konoha at this point. After all, I can still go there and get the information. As Minato nodded at that, after all, it was a good idea. Maybe it is time for Jiraiya and Tsunade to return back to Konoha to get the information. As he simply nodded at that, plans had to be made. After all, if Minato cannot become the Hokage again, then their future plans, all of them, would be destroyed. But they had to do it so that Menma and Naruto could fulfill the premonition and thus become the savior of the elemental nations. As Minato nodded with determination in his eyes, while across the elemental nation, Onoki had a frown on his face as he was looking towards the documents which he has just gotten from the Wind Country and the Suna, and some of his spies which were able to get the information from the, you can say, the capital of the Wind Country. But his spies from Suna were not responding to him whatsoever, and he had a frown on his face as he looked towards the document, as he, you can say, gave a signal as an Ambu landed beside him. Lord Tsuchikage, as Anoki spoke up, summon the council. No, summon the war council now. At this, you can say Ambu had a frown on his face but nodded nonetheless as he vanishes as Anoki started to stood up and flew near his window. What is Konoha thinking? This new Hokage has just unofficially declared war on on the world. How is this possible? Konoha has always been the tree hugging village, and how they're boldly making moves, even taking over a whole nation. As he had a frown on his face, maybe he could send, you can say, his shinobi to Suna, and you can say, telling them that how he was ready to help them to take over, you can say, destroy Konoha and get their freedom again. Maybe he will try it. But he had to, you can say, talk to council as soon as possible. After all, if Konoha is making such a bold move, then there is no doubt that they will try to attack Aiwa. So he had to protect his village as he looked towards his village with narrow gaze. While on the other hand, a Raikage was also looking towards his documents, as in front of him were 2 people, as these were none other than the 2 Jinchurikis of Kumo. As you look towards B, Yujito, I have a top S rank mission for you. In normal situation, I would not send both of you, but it seems that I do not have much of a choice. Your mission is to infiltrate Konoha and Suna at the same time. Yujito, you will go to Konoha, and B, you will go to Suna to get the information about their situation there and see if we can take advantage of the situation. After all, if Konoha has made such a bold move, then they are ready for anything. And B, you will go with Darui and a squad from Ambo, because I believe that Konoha will have many more shinobis present there to keep the stronghold on Suna. As B nodded at it, as Yujito had a frown on her face, but she hid it quickly. After all, Raikage never cared about her. She was just the second best, rather, not even the second best to begin with. He always cared about his brother, and she was just disposable tool, but she hid her feelings as Raikage did not say anything to her, but just told her that how she has to go to Konoha to get the information, and B will go with Ambu squad and other Snake Shinobis to get the information from Suna. While this mission should be opposite, as B should go with Ambu to Konoha and she should go to Suna to get the information, but she's not gonna argue with that, as she simply shook her head and nodded nonetheless, while on the other hand A was thinking what was Konoha thinking and who was this new Hokage. He must be powerful if he has, you can say, taken over Konoha and defeated Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor, and in a single week taken over the whole nation, and afterward has even conquered another nation. He had a frown on his face. This would be a threat to Komo, and he will protect his village no matter what. As he stood up and looked back to the window towards his village with a frown on his face, while on the other hand, Jagura has just gotten the information what was going on in the Elemental Nation. In, you can say, usual situation, he did not care about what was going on in the world, but this was important news, so he had a frown on his face. It seemed that Konoha was making bold moves, but he simply shook his head. It doesn't matter to him. He had to purge his village from these abominations of the bloodline limits, and then he will amass his armies and then launch his, you can say, crusade against the elemental nation to purge the nations from these abominations. As he nodded at it and burned the paper, not caring about what was going on in the elemental nation, it did not matter to him, while on the other hand Metarumi had a frown on her face as she was looking towards a copy of the document they have gotten from Yagura recently. It seemed that this was the information about Konoha and Suna and how Konoha was making march against the elemental nation and conquering nations after nations. She had a frown on her face. In such a situation, her village and nation was the most vulnerable situation, as it was already in the mid of a civil war, too weak to resist. All they have to do is to launch their forces, and then since the forces of Kiri were already divided, it would be too easy to conquer both sides one by one. As she had a frown on her face, thinking that what could be this new Hokage must be thinking, well, at least she has some time. After all, they have just conquered Suna, no doubt. They would have multiple casualties there, and they would have to wait for at least a year, and then by then hopefully this civil war would be over, and how she would be the new Mizukage and she will take care of the situation then. As she decided to put the document away, not knowing that how grave of a mistake it actually was. But then again, there was nothing she could have done to begin with, as Naruto had an evil smirk on his face, as just like that, three papers were in front of him. He had already conquered several other small nations that were in front of him, as well as the hidden villages, as these were none other than Taki, the hidden, you can say, land of vegetables, and some other, you can say, land, and the shinobi were already making their way. Only 50 shinobis were enough. These were highly trained, and many of them were now S rank. As Naruto had a smirk on his face, soon enough he would have the complete control of this world, and then he will find a way to go to the other worlds as well, and he just know it inside of him. There was something telling him that he can go to the stars and conquer them. As he had a smirk on his face, soon enough he will reveal himself, and now it was time for him to step on to another conquest of his. But then suddenly he felt a chakra signature that had just entered into the territory of the Fire Nation. As he closed his eyes, and within seconds he was able to search what this chakra signature was. After all, there was something odd with it, and he wanted to know what it actually was, and a bit similar as well. And suddenly a smirk came to his face. Well, I was expecting them to make a move. Huh, well, this would be fun. Are you ready for this, my little pet? And just like that, from the shadows, a figure stepped in, as this was none other than Gara of the desert. It seemed that one of your siblings in burden is coming here. I want to see that, how powerful you have gotten. You have 2 days to train. By then, she would be here, and I want to see that if you're actually making progress on, and if you're truly worthy of keeping around as my pet. At this, you can say Gara was already on his knees. My lord, I will not disappoint you. Soon enough, I will crush whoever she is and prove my value to you. As not to smirk at that, I do hope that, after all, your other sibling in burden is already going through her training, and you can say, hopefully, you would be able to be ahead of her. Otherwise, she might replace you as my new favorite pet. As Gara had a, you can say, panicking look on his face. No, he wanted to be the favorite of his lord. He will not allow Fu to take his position, nor allow any one of his other so-called siblings in burden to take that position. No, that would be his. He had a determined, you can say, determined look on his face as he nodded at that and decided to leave. As Naruto had a smirk on his face at that, he was already training Fu, already under his control of the eye, and she was training in that other dimension he has made and decided to name it the Chamber of Training. With the time run completely differently, maybe he should come up with some new name like Chamber of Time or Hyperbolic Time Chamber or whatever. Who cares about it? As he simply shrugged at that. While on the other hand, Yujito was quickly making her way through, you can say, village after village and sneakily trying to get information. She has already gone to the, you can say, capital and stayed there for some time, but it seems that how the other people and samurais has already accepted now this new Hokage to be their new daimyo, and people are living quite happily. As a matter of fact, there was arrogance in these people as they were proud that how their nation has so easily conquered so many, not realizing that this could even brought up a new war. But these people were ignorant to begin with, as she simply shook her head, and it was time for her to make a disguise and entered Konoha through fake, you can say, identification and to get information. As she nodded at it and decided to join one of the caravans that were going to Konoha as a, you can say, merchant trip. As she quickly changed her attire and joined the people of merchant, putting them in a minor genjutsu, making them to believe that how she was always with them, and changing her appearance to that of a middle, you can say, aged woman of around 40 years old. As she decided to join them after some time, she could already see the gates of the village, wondering what she will find there. But the priority was to get the information about the new Hokage, about the techniques he has used against the former Hokage Hiruzen Saitobi. No doubt, it would be a public battle if he has taken the position by force. So therefore, the civilians must know about his techniques and she can get that information. But suddenly, her alarms were already running fast as a blast was coming towards her. As her eyes widened, as she quickly jumped out of the way, as the blast hit the caravans, as it was destroyed, as she had a frown on her face, wondering what was going on here. There was, you can say, no way possible that she was found out that quickly. After all, she has yet to enter into the village to begin with, and suddenly a figure was coming towards her. As her eyes narrowed at that, wondering who it was, it was a lone figure, but her highly keen senses could already see that she was already surrounded. As she had a frown on her face, how could this even be? She has yet to enter into the village, and there was no way in hell she was, you can say, discovered, as she has never not interacted with any shinobi that was in the capital or any other village. There was only one possibility, as she could not did not want to believe it, that her village had betrayed her as a peace offering. No, it was not possible. Raikage would not do something like this to her. As she quickly shook her head and undid her hinge, there was no, you can say, point pretending to begin with. As she looked ahead of her, as a kid was standing in front of her, as he was, you can say, around 13 to 14 years old, thanks to training in the chamber, as Gara has grown a little bit, as Gara had a murderous look on his face. Yujito Nin, the Jinchuriki of the two tails. You are to come with us to meet to the Hokage. At this, Yujito frowned at that, and who might you be? As Gara spoke up, my name is Gara of the desert, and I am the favorite pet of Our Lord and I will not allow you to take that position away from me. As Yujito had a frown on her face, wondering what this kid was talking about. As before she could say anything, Gara vanished within a blur of speed as her eyes widened as the face of Gara slammed into Yujito. As Yujito's eyes widened as she could feel bones in her arm were creaking already. At that, as she Gara swiped his hand as sand was, you can say, formed around it in the form of a spear. As Yujito was cut a little bit as she did not notice a gleam came to the eyes of Gara as Yujito quickly jumped back and started to go through hand sign, releasing a gigantic fireball. But Gara made a single hand sign and suddenly Yujito's body quickly froze as chakra was cut off from the technique as the technique dispelled itself. As Gara looked towards her, I have already put sand in that little wound of yours before it got completely healed up by your demon. I have already taken control of your body's nerves and therefore they will obey me now. As Yujito could not believe her eyes. How could this even be possible? As she frowned at that, she had underestimated the kid. But it seemed that he was a Jinchuriki just like her. As she quickly realized that how her body was now moving against her will, as it must be that sand and that little minuscule amount of chakra that was, you can say, confusing the nerves in her body, and the signals to the mind and the body were all disturbed because of that sand and how he was controlling her now as she tried to channel some chakra to her biju to for, you can say, two tails to give some chakra to her so that she can overpower the control. But before the demon could do anything, a seal was already placed to her stomach and to her body, and she was already could feel that how the two tails were cut off from the connection. As she frowned at that, as she quickly started to follow Gara, there was little point resisting at this point. She entered into the Konoha as she saw that people were smiling and doing that casual thing, and they were praising the Hokage and how wonderful of a thing he was doing, as all the shinobi were vehement about their Hokage and how he great, so great he was. As she frowned at all of it, and finally, within, you can say, a minute, she was now standing in front of the Hokage. Rather, it cannot be, you can say, said as a Hokage office, as it was a gigantic hall. And on top of it, there was a gigantic throne, and one person was sitting on it, as she could not see his face with the shadows that was covering him. As Naruto looked towards her with a chuckle on his face, as he said, Yujito ni, huh? The Jinchuriki of the two tails, if I'm not mistaken. Well then, I welcome you to Konoha, and I welcome you to the and I welcome you to my personal pet collection. But of course, you will have to compete with my other pets if you want to be claimed as the position of my favorite. As Gara twitched at that, as Yujito was trying to make sense what was going on here. As Naruto snapped his finger, and just like that, the control Gara had over Yujito was cancelled out. As Yujito was trying to understand, as she quickly stood up and tried to channel her chakra, but suddenly the whole room was filled with immense power of Naruto, as Naruto's body was now glowing with pink energy as he was already sitting on his throne, and now she can see his face. He was no older than a 14-year-old kid, and how he was a new leader, but the power that was surrounding him was already putting her on her knees. This pressure, it was so much greater than the Raikage. Even the Biju sealed inside of her was no match for this guy, if he was even human to begin with. As she looked towards Naruto in utter fear in her eyes, as Naruto gave her a smirk as he said, but did you honestly believe that your little Biju was any comparable to me? Ha, don't make me laugh. And your pathetic Raikage is actually no match for me as well. Soon enough, I will enter into Komo and I will put that brute in his position. But anyways, we have much to discuss. But I think that you would need motivation to see things my way. Well then, as Naruto snapped his finger and just like that, his hand started to glow as a orb appeared in it. As the orb was like an eye, as it was suddenly eyed open as Yujito made the grave mistake at looking at her, and just like that, inside of her seal, as two-tailed monster cat was trying to break the seals that were surrounding her, capturing her, cutting off the connection she had with Yujito. But suddenly she felt a sensation. She could not understand what it was, but it was like a golden light that has entered into her seal as her eyes widened as the light slammed into her. As she tried to scream and tried to understand what was going on, but the consciousness she had connected to the chakra of the ten tails, which made her body was override and overruled, and within seconds she forgot everything, and only thing she knew was to obey her lord, and that was Naruto Uzumaki, the ruler, no, the emperor of the universe. And just like that, Yujito forgot everything and remembered only to serve as Naruto started to laugh as he said, "Well, Gara, why don't you show your sibling her new living arrangements?" As Gara nodded at it and started to, you can say, told her to follow him. And just like that, she was left as Naruto smirked at it. Now, he has three Jinchurikis under his control, but he has gotten a annoying news from, you can say, Kakashi. It seemed that there was an organization which was trying to hunt down his pets. No, he will not allow it. After all the nine bijus were his pets, and therefore they would be under his control. He will not allow them to leave his side. Well, of course, if we find anything other, you can say a more entertaining thing than that, then maybe. But anyways, for now, he has already, you can say, chosen all the bijus as his pets and the container as well. So therefore, he will take care of this organization as soon as possible. For now, he has other things. But maybe it seemed that his pets would get an opportunity to show their might as well, as not to smirk at that. As an Ambu landed beside him, "My lord, we have gotten the information of the six-tailed Jinchuriki, Utakata," as Naruto smirked at that. "Well then, maybe we should bring him here as soon as possible. After all, I cannot allow my pets to wander off too far away from home. Isn't that right?" As the Ambu nodded at it, as this was none other than Kakashi, as Naruto stood up. "Well then, I have already made plans to enter into Kirei as soon as possible, and it would be a good reunion for our new little pet, for him to have an opportunity to destroy his far homeland." At this, you can say Kakashi nodded as not a smirk, while on the other hand, Utakata was on his run, as he has just been hunted down by the Ambu of Yagura, who has gotten his whereabouts somehow, and now he was being hunted down by two teams of Ambu. He was frowning at that. All of them had sealing, you can say, with them, and they have already sealed off his connection with his Biju, and now he was trying to run off, as he was now desperate at this point. But suddenly, you can say, he felt something, a oppressive aura that came out of nowhere, as within seconds he was on his knees with the pressure that was around them. The ground was shaking, the small stones were already flying in the air, and just like that, he saw in the sky as pink ball of energy came out of nowhere, and just like that, it slammed in front of him. As this was none other than Naruto, who was glowing with his aura of power. As Naruto looked towards Utakata, well, it seemed that we have finally met, huh, Utakata? Or rather, would you like to be known as my new pet? As Naruto smirked at it, while on the other hand, Utakata stood up as Naruto was no longer releasing his aura, as he said, "So, you're with that bastard Yagura, huh? I do not care how powerful you are or who you are. I will die fighting and will never serve him or anyone else." As Naruto started to laugh as he said, "Huh, who said that? I am with that fool. Do not worry, he will join you soon enough. I would have liked to kill him, but then again, I would have to wait for my pet to reform, and that would be a bit of trouble for me. But it doesn't matter. You're coming with me." But before you can say Utakata could say anything, they were surrounded by Ambo. "You're wrong, brat. Both of you are coming with us." As Naruto had an annoyed look on his face, as Ambo appeared with his sword ready. "I do not know who you are, But it seems that if you are with the Jinchuriki, then you obviously have a Kikagenkai and you're an abomination and shall be taken care of. As Naruto looked towards him with an annoyed look on his face, but before Naruto could say anything, Ambo spoke up. That was your last warning, Brad. Come with us peacefully, otherwise you will be hurt. As Naruto smirked at it, I was only here for my new pet, but it seemed that you have decided to disturb me, insect. So therefore, I will put you in your place. As Ambo quickly realized that how this kid was an enemy and shall be taken care of, as all of them rushed towards Naruto and some of them were ready to see if Utakata will help him or try to escape. They were already prepared with the seals to suppress him even further if the opportunity present itself. As Naruto laughed, and just like that, his hand started to glow with pink energy as Naruto moved two fingers into the air. As Utakata's eyes widened, it was like you can say immense pressure was blown into the air. Only where Naruto and Utakata were standing, that was the only place that was safe, as Ambus did not even realize what happened. One moment they were about to cut off this bloodline freak, and the next moment their bodies were literally turned into dust. Their brains did not get the opportunity to even realize what has happened and how before they even realized they were dead. As Naruto looked towards Utakata, now that the trash has been taken care of, will you come peacefully? Or do you need further motivation? As Utakata was already on his knees. As he looked around, there was a gigantic crater around both Naruto and himself, as he could not understand what he could do in this situation. As Naruto smirked, do not worry, it wouldn't be that bad. And just like that, Naruto opened his hand as a bright yellow light glowed. And now let us cut back to, you can say, the situation in Kiri, as Mei Terumi had a frown on her face. Her forces were, you can say, badly beaten up, and Jagura has somehow gotten the information where her headquarters was. She cannot leave her people here because if they want to leave, then surely Jagura would already, you can say, be waiting for them. They were already trapped and they would have to make up a front if they want to you can say, power Jagura. As Yagura was now smiling, as in front of him were thousands of shinobis ready to take down these abominations, as they were already you can say, cornered them. There was nothing, no place to hide for them anymore. One place was large ocean where they have already sent off their summoning animals to capture them if they try to, you can say, run off using water walking. And on the other place was Yagura and his forces ready to decimate them, as he had a smirk on his face, thinking that there was nothing in the whole world that can, you can say, disturb his good mood. After all, what could go wrong from here? But unknowingly, he has jinxed himself, as Yagura was smiling as mate Rumi has just came out with his forces ready to make the last stand. But before, you can say, one side or the other side could make you can say, long speeches about their motivations and determinations, as a gigantic boom could be heard as Yagura and Mei's eyes widened when a shining light could be seen from their place. As Yagura's eyes quickly widened when he saw that gigantic portion of his village was incinerated. When, how, who could have done something like this? As he was, you can say, getting angrier at this point as he glared towards Mei. You! As Mei was also confused what was going on here. She has not ordered any attack on the village. Hell, they do not have that kind of manpower to begin with. But suddenly, killing intent flooded the whole place. As they were confused, as Jagura quickly realized, his eyes widened in horror, and it was a moment later other shinobis also realized when their eyes widened, as it was demonic chakra that was flooding the whole place. As Jagura's mind was going through miles through second. Who could have done something like this? That was the power of a Jinchuriki. Was any other nation attacking Kiri, or could it be that Utakata was back for revenge? No, it was too much chakra, and there were more than one chakra signatures that were releasing that demonic chakra. As May's eyes widened in horror when she saw the seven-tailed Jinchuriki that was flying in the air release acid as that was coming down towards the forces of Yakura. We tried to run but they were already caught up as suddenly you can say the sand one-tailed Jinchuriki has appeared and make gigantic walls of water that were of sand that were soaked in water and making shinobis run you can say a lot more difficult. And suddenly the six-tailed Jinchuriki completely transformed and two-tailed Jinchuriki were already present as they have already surrounded the forces and they were now wreaking havoc over the whole place as it was a nightmare for any village to have four bijus completely transformed inside of their village as Yagura was trying to understand the situation, but suddenly a laughter could be heard. Ha, look at that. My pets, aren't they beautiful? As he was now looking towards all of them flying in the air, and just like that, as Yagura and many sensing shinobis quickly saw that there were thousands of chakra signatures, many of them were now cage level, and there was not even a single one of them that was Jonin level. No, all of them were cage level, and some of them were truly on the caliber of an S rank, while on the other hand, others have cage level reserves. And you can say with Naruto key inside of their bodies, they were getting stronger by the day. As Naruto was now flying in the air along with some of his shinobis who has learned the art from him. As Naruto had a smirk on his face, people and shinobi of Kire, my forces have surrounded you. My pets are ready to eradicate you. This is your last opportunity. Give up, and I will have mercy on you. At this, you can say people and the shinobis of Kiri did not know at this point what to do as Yagura was fuming in anger. He has disregarded the report, but now seeing the head mad on these flying shinobis, they quickly realized that it was the work of Konoha. They have stolen four Jinchurikis from the other nation and how they have attacked his own as he was fuming in utter anger as Naruto had a smirk on his face. Well, my pet, do not need to be that angry about it. After all, I do not want you dead with a heart attack, with that kind of anger and blood pressure. After all, I still have a spot for you as my newest pet. As Yagura said, shut up, I do not know who you are, but you're gonna die. You're gonna scum. And just like that, you can say his Biju cloak started to surround him as Naruto landed on the ground as he said, well then, it is your funeral. As Yagura launches himself towards Naruto, as Naruto laughed as he backhanded Yagura with such force and speed that his teeth were shattered as his, you can say, face bones were simply destroyed as he was launched like a rocket, and within a single punch, Yagura was sent flying so hard that it was only his Biju clock that was able to save him. But with the single attack, Yagura was unconscious as Naruto, you can say, body released his aura of power, and just like that, each and every shinobi that was present there were slammed into the ground as Naruto looked towards his cloak, which was shifting between gold and pink. As Naruto let out a roar, and just like that, whole place shook. All across the Elemental Nation, all the hidden villages shook as so violently that they were thinking that it was an earthquake as Naruto's hair started to glow with his eyes, and just like that, a bright yellow aura surrounding him. His hair was now even glowing yellow. His eyes were completely yellow at this point with a red tint inside of them. And how his whole body was literally shining with yellow energy as Naruto started to laugh as whole planet shook for a second as the shinobis quickly realized that what kind of monster was in front of them, their hopes and determination shattered within a single second as Naruto's hand started to glow as a one, you can say, orb appeared in it as Naruto smirked at it. Now, obey. And just like that, Kiri was conquered as well, as three nations were taken over that easily by the Hokage, and minor nations were being conquered within minutes as Naruto was laughing at this point. And finally, you can say one thing as Naruto spoke up, I am Naruto Uzumaki, the emperor of the elemental nations, no, the emperor of the universe. As he started to laugh at that, unknowing to him, as a small, you can say I was watching him, while far away, Minato, Kushina, as Jiraiya, Tsunade had a, you can say, almost heart attack look on their face, as Minato could feel the power even standing here far away from Kiri, but it was, you can say, far enough that it could feel the power as Jiraiya's hand was trembling in utter fear at it. He could not understand what was going on here. This power came out of nowhere, while on the other hand, Obito was watching it all, and for years after years, he felt fear as his control over Yagura was overridden in such a brutal manner that how it was like a small river trying to overpower an ocean, and the ocean decided to show the river its true place as Obito, after years, was scared. So yeah, guys, here I will have this part. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. For the next part, the like goal is gonna be 200 likes, 80 comments. Do that, and I shall upload the next part as soon as possible. So yeah, guys, see you soon and peace.